Welcome to another edition of Hometown Happenings. I'm Supervisor George Hohmann. Thanks for joining us. Well, we've got a great show coming up for you today with some fabulous guests. But let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on right here in the town of Clarkstown. So we've got a lot of projects that are underway and have just started. As you are aware, the Snake Hill Road Bridge is now closed in West Nyack. And that project is an important infrastructure project to repair that bridge, which was coming to the end of its useful life cycle. The town doesn't own the bridge. The town is only responsible for the approaches to the bridge and the cover of the bridge, the top course. And the county is responsible for the rest. Thankfully, we were able to get a grant to cover the lion's share of the cost from New York State, and the town is managing that project. The bridge construction work is moving ahead, and we expect that the bridge will reopen by the end of the summer, no later than Labor Day. And so we're excited about that. It's great to see our aging infrastructure being replaced. As you've all seen, we've also have started with our ball field reconstruction project over at Zucker Park. It'll be the first turf field in the town of Clarkstown. Many of the other towns in Rockland County have turf fields and turf field complexes. We haven't had any within the town, so we're significantly behind. But we're catching up this year with two fields that are actually being redone. So the first is Zucker, and that should be done by August, the end of August. And that will allow the soccer clubs to be able to go forward with playing on turf over at Zucker Field. There'll also be some other upgrades to the complex there, and we're looking at lighting upgrades as well. And then kicking off pretty quickly within the next couple of months will be the second turf field that we're going to be doing in the town of Clarkstown, the second level at Germans. And that will be a multi-purpose field that will be aligned for lacrosse, for football, and on both ends of the field there'll be also turf, baseball or softball fields. So we're really excited about that, bringing Clarkstown up and getting some of our facilities really upgraded. Also, really looking at the new pickleball courts that will be coming in shortly. And as always, really excited as we're really moving along with the Parrott Road reconstruction project and roadway expansion project. It's a great project you'll hear more about on this program. So that project is well underway and should finish by the end of the summer. So a lot of good news and good work that's happening here in the town of Clarkstown on our infrastructure. As we're approaching Memorial Day, I'm also really excited, and you'll hear more on this program from Art Smith from the American Legion about the restarting of the New City Memorial Day Parade. As you know, because of COVID, we didn't have that parade for the last 3 years, but the American Legion is picking it back up. So on this Memorial Day, we'll have a parade back in the town again. As you're aware, the Veterans Memorial Association in Congers does a wonderful Memorial Day weekend parade. They actually do it on Saturday, and it's a fabulous parade. I actually marched in that parade when I was a kid, and I always enjoy marching it as the supervisor. But New City, which is the county seat, hasn't had a parade for the past 3 years. So again, we're really delighted that the Legion has taken up the mantle again. And the Memorial Day Parade will kick off at 9 o'clock on May 29th. And the town will be, of course, supporting that event as we have that wonderful patriotic event take place. We're also in the planning stages and really getting our pools prepared. You'll learn more next month about in June on our next Hometown Happenings program. But suffice to say, there's some upgrades that we're doing in each of our pools, some new benches and getting the pools ready for our pool season. And of course, summer camp registration is kicking off, as well as our wonderful summer concert series. And you'll learn more about that, but we have all the big acts that we've had over the past years, the Nerds, the Amish Outlaws, along with some new ones. And again, with the brand new West Nyack Park that's already a big hit, we're actually going to have 3 concerts down in West Nyack that are going to take place over the summer. And of course, you'll learn more about, recently, coming out about our Summer Friday concert series here in New City. So there's a lot going on in the town. Really excited about getting prepared for Memorial Day and the summer events. And really some great infrastructure projects that are taking place here in the town that are really a shot in the arm, here within the town as well. So we've got some great guests as well. I'm very excited about. As I said, a lot of these projects are being done and coordinated through my office with our DEFM, our Department engineering and facilities maintenance. So our first guest today will be Mike Gianatasio, who is the new town engineer and the director of the DFM department. We also have Art Smith in our veterans segment, who will be talking about the American Legion and the upcoming New City Parade that's going to be kicking off again. And we also have a favorite on the show, Roxanne Perrone, who's been a longtime member, former business owner, a longtime member of the New City Chamber of Commerce, and she'll be talking about the upcoming New City street fairs and a lot of the events that are taking place here in the town. So all that and more on this edition of Hometown Happenings. Stay tuned. Welcome back. My first guest is Mike Gianatasio, the director of the Department of Engineering and Facilities Management in the town of Clarkstown. Welcome, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
Mike, delighted to have you. Great hire for the town. You started just at the beginning of this year, and a super important department. You're an engineer as well, so we're going to get into all that. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your family background yourself and what brings you to the town of Clarkstown.
Sure. I grew up in the Bronx, New York. Went to high school at Fordham Prep in the Belmont section of the Bronx. I went on to Manhattan College School of Engineering, got my Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. So I have 8 years of Jesuit training. Right. I'm sure you would appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And went on to get my professional engineering license in 1997. Started my own company in 2001. Before that, I worked for a consultant, and we worked on some big infrastructure projects in Manhattan, sewer and water main projects, big infrastructure projects for the Department of Design and Construction.
What's like the biggest project you worked on back then?
I would say the infrastructure project on Columbus Avenue in Manhattan, but the one that I really stood out and it's most memorable is the foundation at the Freedom Tower.
Oh, wow.
I was the site safety manager working with Tishman Construction as a consultant with my company, and we were in the foundation, and it was a really orange job. It was massive foundation wall, big slurry wall. You have the new foundation for the Freedom Tower, and right next door you had the footprints of the old towers that were there, and which was pretty amazing. And to see both projects going on at the same time, the museum that was being constructed with the reflective pools and the new foundation of the big building going up, the Freedom Tower, was pretty exciting and really a great experience.
How long were you on that project for?
Approximately 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then being a consultant, then I started running around the city, trying to get more work, and it was really really inspiring to work in Manhattan, and it was a great time to work in Manhattan.
You know what the old saying is about consultants, right?
What?
They're like hunters. They only eat what they kill, right?
That's right.
So basically,
That's right.
it's you're constantly. It keeps you. I would imagine it keeps you sharp and fresh because
Yes.
you really have to kind of apply your skills and you have to impress new people to want to hire you, right?
Yeah, and running your own company, marketing yourself, running the HR, payroll, doing all the proposals, the engineering, and then you have a great staff that you try to develop and invest in people. So over the 20 years that I was in business, it was really an exciting time.
And you also did some work with municipalities as a consultant as well, right?
Yes. I worked with the city of Mount Vernon as their consultant for the IDA. We did various studies, helped out their building department with compliance. So, I have my code enforcement license as well, or certificate. So it's a New York State code enforcement official. I also have my license in 5 states, New York being one, Pennsylvania, Florida, Connecticut, and New Jersey. Wow. So if we have any work out there, we can work in those states as well.
Well, it's a little ambitious, and really, as people should know, I mean, you're super qualified as an engineer. We were fortunate. We were looking for the better part of a year and a half to find, the appropriate person, and thank God we were able to connect with you. And already you've been a godsend in just a couple of months here in the town. You have a very busy department. We have a very ambitious agenda. A lot of capital projects going on right now. Why don't we go through some of the big ones? We'll start with West Nyack.
Yeah, well, West Nyack Green Revitalization was just completed phase 1. I was on the tail end of that, but what an amazing upgrade to the water quality for the Hackensack River, new playground, new parking arears, and expansion of the parking facility. Phase 2 is coming out now.
Yeah, just back to phase 1. So great. I mean,
Yeah.
we're waiting on the statues to be finalized,
That's correct.
and they should be done over the summer, and they'll be installed, and we'll have a big ceremony commemorating the Foley brothers,
Yes.
who were West Nyack heroes who died in 9/11. But just it's a wonderful project, and your department was instrumental in that. And I know getting at the very end, as you were coming in, trying to finish off some of the final details in the punch list, so you were
Right.
great with that.
Right.
And we're going into phase 2.
Phase 2 is in design currently. It's going to involve road improvements in the same area. So that's 90% ready to go, and we're looking to put that out to bid within 30 to 45 days, once we get the final design.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that because obviously for the residents, they should know that's going to be a 2-year project. It
Yes.
looks like we should be out to bid by the summertime. We're thinking we'll award it, probably hopefully start construction towards the tail end of the year, and it'll go over up to 2 years. And that's literally a roadway reconfiguration, sidewalks, decorative lights, and a 4-way intersection at Klein Avenue, which will kind of clean up that entire mess down there, and improve all the safety with the local businesses as well. You won't have the cars backing out onto West Nyack
Correct.
Road anymore. The parking lot will be segregated, and we're adding about 100 parking spaces all up and down the street, as well as 2 designated parking areas for the businesses and for overflow from Source Funeral Home. So it should be a really beautiful upgrade, down there. And we're also excited to work with O&R, the 705 line, and you're instrumental with helping with that. They're going to be burying the lines for a portion down there as well, right?
Right. It's a big cleanup activity. I think the residents and the businesses will greatly, appreciate what you were doing.
Good.
Yep.
So let's talk about Zucker Park. We've
Zucker Park.
got a lot going on there, right?
Right. So right after Little League opening day, we're planning on starting the construction of the Zucker Park soccer field, new turf field. Town board approval recently awarded the contract, and we're looking about April 23rd, 24th to start that project. So it's a brand new turf field, possibly some new concession stands for the soccer club, and we're excited about getting that project started.
And that will, the time frame on that is it kicks off, it's just kicked off the end of April. It's going through. We'll finish up in, end of July.
End of
to
July,
early-
well, August, we'd say.
August.
Yeah,
Yeah,
August
August.
should be the date. We're also looking at some lighting upgrades. Right now, we're doing some feasibility studies, trying to get NYSERDA involved, try to get some funding and some, grants.
Right.
So we're doing that town-wide right now.
Yeah, for all of our ball fields.
Right.
And then also at Zucker, we're putting in pickleball courts,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Fastest growing sport, right?
Yes.
You
pickleball
play?
courts, I want to play. I'm looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
I'll try out the first pickleball
Okay.
game.
Okay,
We'll see.
good. We'll play each other. How's
Yeah,
that?
that's great. We'll put that on. That's
We'll,
great.
we'll force the highway superintendent to jump in on it.
That's a good idea.
It'll be you and I against him and George Grimaldi.
That's even better. I like that. Okay,
Good.
perfect.
So there's 8 courts there.
8 brand new courts coming in, same time frame as the soccer club, looking for end of summer start. So by the fall, you should have 8 new pickleball courts, and we'll start that.
And where that'll be in relation, it'll be behind Street School, closer to the north side parking lot.
Correct.
So people would access it by parking on the north side parking lot and walking over.
Right.
It's kind of up on the hill overlooking the back of the Little League field.
Of the Little League fields, right. And then you can use the restrooms and concession stands that's centrally located amongst all the fields.
Right, that's great.
Yes.
So what else? We've got the highway garage, right?
Yes, Bob Malone, when I first came in, asked for assistance with the engineering and construction oversight for a 17,500 square foot highway expansion garage, which will also include site improvements for parking over there, and also building upgrades. So looking forward to putting that all together. We're currently in geotech design and doing some topography surveys. We're going to be seeking some consultants to help design the project, and then we can kick off for a bid.
Good. So glad about that.
Yep.
So a lot of opportunities over there. And then also, it's just recently closed in the beginning of April, but we've got Snake Hill Road project. That's an important project as well. You want to speak to that?
Right. So the county has a design for a replacement bridge on Snake Hill Road. The town's responsible for the overlay course, but we're taking on the project as the construction manager in charge. We have a contractor We're going to be starting soon. We're putting out bulletins on the road closure, and that project will also last till about September.
Right. So the plan is hopefully that's going to be open by Labor Day.
Right.
And so that'll be the second bridge that the town is replacing in the last 2 years, and which is good to see our aging infrastructure being addressed, and
Right.
That's an important project. We also have the Parrott Road project, which should end up later in the year as well. Maybe you could speak to that as well.
Right, so it's a road widening project. We're in the middle of the process right now, and we're pushing for an early completion date. So we're working on that. Our staff is actually overseeing that project, so it's a town project run by the town.
Yeah, and what's great about that project is, the impetus for that, number of years ago, I think probably 4 years ago, it was prior to Chief Wanamaker, so it was when Chief McCullough, I remember being called, and there was a bomb threat at the middle school, so the police department went, and I responded as well as the supervisor. And I remember getting to the command scene there, and it was just utter chaos. People couldn't get through. That's been a problem, that roadway, since I was a kid. I grew up not too far down the street from there. I used to walk to Felix Vesta Middle School, and traffic was backed up back then in the 70s. It's backed up today, and that's a major important corridor. You have Felix Vesta, you have Jesse Kaplan School, you have the BOCES campus. In the neighborhoods behind there, you have Laurel Plains, you have St. Francis of Assisi. Up the street, you've got Albertus Magnus. I can't think of a place in the entire county that has more schools within such a concentrated area. And so, just for safety, public safety reasons, we needed to do something there. And so it had long been on our list to take a look at. We got it designed, and so it's a great project, and people should be excited to know it'll be completed by the fall. But there'll be turning lanes, there'll be drive-through lanes, so people will be able to improve traffic flow. So turning lanes to the middle school. We're also going to have an elevated speed table, so like an elevated crosswalk, which should serve as a deterrent to slow people down right near the school, and turning lanes coming out of Parrott Road, onto Jamons Road there. Total cleanup, and it's a great job, and that was done entirely through your department, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else are you working on?
So we have a lot, but town project, City Hall, municipal buildings, we're looking at energy efficiency, energy audits. The windows in the building are 40 years old. We just did a roof replacement, which turned out nice. We had a long warranty on it. So window energy upgrades, the mechanical systems are very old, from the 70s. So doing an overall look, possibly replacing the windows, which are dire need to be replaced, the mechanical systems, and coming back with, again, grants and some type of state or federal money to assist us with the audit and actual construction and replacement of these systems.
Right. And I think the other thing that we're looking at, and as we're upgrading a bunch of these buildings, we own a number of roofs. We did the roof here. We're also looking at solar.
Correct.
To
That's
help us
another
with
thing.
that as
Yep.
well.
Solar on all our town facilities.
Right. So Mike, we're just about out of time, but literally you bring a wealth of experience, and we only scratched the surface. There's another dozen projects that we didn't even touch on, other drainage projects, different neighborhoods, that you and your team are working on. But these are things that are like ongoing or about to start or have just started or will be starting this year that are going to have a major impact and change the look of the town and really improve people's lives. And you and your department are integral to that. So I want to thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to working with everybody in the town.
Good.
Great.
Well done.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music and we talked. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic. Your honesty gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted in my own life.
And I wanted you to know, from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now, that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, in whatever you do.
Talk, they hear you.
Welcome back to Hometown Happenings. I'm Supervisor George Hohman. My next guest is Art Smith in our veteran segment. Welcome, Art.
Thank you.
So, Art, I've known you for years as your wife, Anne-Marie, former long-term councilwoman and great volunteer with a good sister. She's done some wonderful work as well. But you've had an incredible career, and this is our veteran segment. And I know we're going to talk a good bit about the American Legion, You're heavily involved in that, and plans to restart the Memorial Day Parade here in New City in just a few weeks. But let's talk about your service in our veteran segment. Maybe just give us your background, where you were born, where you were raised.
I was born in Woodhaven, Queens, and I went to St. Thomas the Apostle Grammar School, and then I went to high school in Rockville Center, St. Agnes. When I graduated from high school, 1957, then I went into the Air Force in 1958, and I served for 2 years active and then 4 years reserve.
So tell us just briefly about your time in the Air Force, because you've had a really remarkable, good career, but I'm sure the military, the Air Force was helpful in giving you, an opportunity to learn some discipline and build some career skills. So where did you, if you can recall, where did you do your training, and where did you serve?
Well, I actually went to training in Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois, and it was very interesting because when I tell people now that I was a propeller technician, they don't know what I'm talking about because nobody knows propellers. But it was really interesting. But I think probably the best thing, and I think most people who have served will say, is it gave you a sense of growing up, a sense of being a person. And later on, when I left the service and went to the fire department, that was one of the big benefits. You were able to get along with people and from different ethnic and backgrounds. So it was really, I think, a growing up experience for me.
And so you were not just in the, you were active duty 2 years, and then you cycled out from that. But you stayed in the reserves for 4 years.
Right,
And
right.
So you actually qualify, I guess, as Vietnam vet, correct?
Right, yes.
Because you're reserve duty?
Right, because of the reserve duty, it carried me over to the beginning of the Vietnam War.
Right. So what did you do once you got out of the service?
When I got out, I went right into the, first I went to a telephone company, and I worked there for about 1 year, and the fire department called me, and I went to the fire department in New York City. And I served there for 20 years, mostly in the South Bronx, seeing a lot of fire duty, because back in the 60s and 70s, the Bronx was truly burning.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I mean, what was that like? I mean, what made you want to be a fireman?
It was one of those things that a whole group of us from Woodhaven, where I was born and raised, we all went to Delahanty's, and we took the police test, we took the fire test, we took the sanitation test, and it was like, that was what you did in those days. You worked for the city, And I was just got engaged, and my father-in-law was a retired police sergeant, and he says, don't you become a cop, don't take it. You go on the fire department. And that's how I went on the fire department.
That's great.
So it was good. It was really an exciting time to be a fireman. There's no two ways about it.
I mean, it was a long time ago, but you had a long career there. What would be like one of the more notable or bigger events that you may have been a part of there?
Well, the one that's in my mind is we had a serious fire in the railroad yards in the South Bronx, and after the cleanup, we're taking everything down, and three of the guys were taking a ladder off the building, and the electricity arced from a high tension line to the ladder. It was a metal ladder, and two of them were killed because of that. And I had to arrange the repast after it, and that was quite a interesting thing, because you know it's going to involve a lot of people because they're going to be there. It's a line of duty death, and we're trying to figure out where the heck to have it. So I went to the Kingsbridge Armory, and I spoke to the guy in charge at the Armory. He says, well, there's no way we're going to let you rent this place or take this place. So I got on the phone and I called the president of the union. The president of the union called the head of the National Guard in the state of New York, who called the Kingsbridge Armory and said, "He's got it." And we had some turnout. I'm telling you, we had some mob of people. And yet the next thing was, how do we feed all these people?
Right.
And we had every local deli sending over bologna sandwiches, and and that's what we did. That was quite an experience for me in the department. But probably the biggest thing is the number of fires. I worked 2 blackouts in the city, and the Martin Luther King assassination, and we didn't stop going to fires. Constant.
Yeah, it's often said. I mean, Bobby Kennedy had that absolutely remarkable speech in Indianapolis the night that King was killed, and in most of the cities in the United States, Philadelphia, New York, you had riots and you had fires, just arson galore, people rioting and upset. But in Indianapolis, nothing happened. And nothing happened because Bobby Kennedy got up and he gave this absolutely moving speech. And I recommend people to Google it, because he talked about, division we have division in our country. We previously had division in our country. He talked about losing his own brother. He said, I lost a family member to gun violence, and and that's not what Dr. King would want us to do. And so Indianapolis stayed peaceful, but so it's remarkable. So you were working in 1968, throughout that whole thing.
Yes, it was a wild period of time,
Right.
and it
And
was
the blackout, what, at 65? And then the
I
one in the
forget what
70s?
years, but there were 2 of them.
Yeah.
But those were called the war years in the New York City Fire Department,
Right.
And it truly was. It was unreal.
And you were in for over 20 years, and then
I went on in 1962. I retired in 1982.
and you retired as a lieutenant.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So you're very involved in the American Legion, and I'm so excited. I know that because of COVID and last year we didn't have the New City Memorial Day Parade. The Legion normally organizes it, and so I'm delighted that it's coming back this year, and I know you're instrumental with that. So let's talk a little bit about the American Legion so people know a little bit about it.
Right. Well, the Legion here in New City is the William E. de Beauvois. It opened the charter. We got it in 1946. And the first commander was a man by the name of John Harrison. He was the very first commander. But over the years, what's interesting, when I look back, we had 2 women. And one woman was Nancy Keating. She served as commander of the Legion 1994 to 96. And then the next woman was Margaret Nevins from 2000 to 2001. And it was really interesting to see that, people think we didn't have women in that type of, in our service back then, but we did. And right now, the national commander, the man who's in charge of the legions throughout the country, his name is Jim Troiola, and he was a commander here in 1996 to 1998. So we're very proud to have him as our national commander.
Yeah, which is really remarkable. I know Jim has moved up to New Hampshire.
Right.
He still has ties here, but this is his home Legion club, and it's via this club that he's actually now the national commander. Which our Clarkstown Police, and I know your son retired a couple of years ago. Now he was a lieutenant there, Kenny. But the Police Honor Guard, Clarkstown Police Honor Guard, went out. The American Legion paid to send them out. I think it was to Milwaukee for the national convention last year,
and the swearing-in
ceremony,
yeah.
Which was really quite remarkable, which is great.
Yeah, I mean it's a proud thing that our post has somebody like that from it. Believe me.
So tell us about the plans for the parade.
Well, we had a hiatus of 3 years, and it almost makes you feel that there's no more Americanism, and we don't believe that. We don't believe that. So,
I can attest. I got so many phone calls. People understood the first 2 years, but last year, we were kind of coming out of COVID, and then literally people are like, "Well, we're out of COVID now, so what's going on?" And we didn't have any parades in the town last year, and so again, because the West Nile parade didn't come off either. So I'm delighted that you guys are actually going forward with those.
Yeah, I've sent out probably in the neighborhood of 35 letters, invitations to all the elementary schools, to the 2 high schools, to the middle school, to the fire department, New City Fire Department, the ambulance corps, businesses. Last year, I went up to Ridgefield, Connecticut, and they had a Memorial Day parade. And they had all local community businesses marching in their Memorial Day parade. And it made you look at it and say, this is what local communities used to do. So I'm trying to get that back. I want local community support.
Great.
And the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, they've responded, and we're happy to see them come
Right.
toward
So we'll
it.
have the veterans groups, and we'll have the fire department, and it should be great. And so that'll be on Memorial Day?
Yeah, May 29th, 9 o'clock at Collier Avenue and South Main Street, and we march to the courthouse where there's a brief ceremony, and we disperse from there.
Good. Very good. Well, Art, that's just really, really great news. Now, to be a member of the American Legion, you have to be a veteran, but they have a group called the Sons of the American Legion,
Right.
Sons and Daughters of the
Right.
American Legion. And so if you have somebody that served in your family, you can join. They also have a ladies auxiliary, correct?
Right.
So how does somebody learn more about the American Legion?
Well, all they have to do really is go online or post this online, and all the information about joining is right there. All they have to do is go to post 1682 New City, New York, and we have a really nice website. A fellow really takes care of it. There's pictures of past events that we've had and everything. But you have the sons, and it can be a grandfather or a father, the auxiliary, and it's for a husband or a father who served. And everything is to help other veterans. Like we have buddy checks. We have the honor flight. We sent Patty to Washington, D.C., and he came back. He was unbelievable how he responded to that. We're a conduit for getting information out to the veterans about changes in laws and et cetera. So we really work for the veterans. But we also want to be community-based. That's the key here. Like the parade. The parade is a community memorial for the veterans who gave so much for us to be free.
Well, Art, I think we'll leave it there. I couldn't have summed it up better. We do a lot in this town to honor our vets, and we'll continue to do that as long as I'm here as supervisor with our flags on our poles. Recognizing our vets. We have the food giveaways that we do for the holidays with our vets. But it's great to see getting the parade back, because I know a lot of people missed it. COVID stopped it, but it'd be great to have the New City Parade back, and looking forward to seeing everybody, out there, and hopefully, showing their pride and their patriotism and clapping as our vets march by on May 29th at 9 a.m. in New City.
Yep, thank you.
So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
Welcome back. My next guest is Roxanne Perrone, the president of the New City Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Roxanne.
Hi, George. So nice to see you.
Yeah, delighted to have you on. You're a good friend and a great supporter of everything that's happening here in the business community within the town. And you've been the president and involved in the chamber for a lengthy period of time. You must have started when you were about 3 years old.
Thank you so much for that.
But let's just give our viewers a little bit of a look into your background, where you were born. I know you were pretty much raised here, lived here a good part of your life.
Yes, I've been here since I'm 10, originally from Westchester. Definitely settled my roots here. We originally came to the county from my dad and grandfather's small business. We have a construction company that my husband now is at the helm.
Okay.
So
What's the name of the company?
Pinebrook Contracting
Right.
Company. So we raised the girls here, and
How many girls?
I have two girls,
Right.
31 and 29. I can't believe it. They were here up until about 4 years ago, and they've moved out together and are currently living in the city. Along the way, after raising the girls, I opened up the deli on
What was it?
Maple.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Tell everybody, people will
Right,
recognize-
Perronucci's.
Right.
And I just loved being there. That was my first dip personally into a small business. Reconnected with so many people that I grew up with and got to know everybody in the town. It was just a wonderful experience for me. And that's when I first started with the chamber.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you've now been involved in the chamber for a lot of years. You've been president or co-president or,
Correct.
12 years now?
Yeah, 12 years.
Wow.
Right, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, I can't let it go by. Your deli it was like the best deli in the town.
Thank you so
It's
much.
just incredible lunches. I didn't work, for most of the time that you had the deli in New City, and I would go out of my way sometimes to try and have meetings in New City
Yes.
before I was supervisor, so I could literally go, get food from your deli. It was
Thank
just
you so
absolutely
much.
incredible.
If you could believe it, we sold the deli. It's going to be 9 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, but I refuse to give up the chamber.
I never had the opportunity as town supervisor. I'm now in my 8th year as supervisor to go to your deli when you owned it. But I can tell you, when I was the executive director at Rockland Independent Living, I would sometimes come down to have lunch with people, and we would get food from your deli. It was just top notch.
Thank you so much.
But that aside now, one of the things I'm very proud of. We're going to talk about the chamber a little bit, but I want to throw some kudos out to the folks in the chambers. The New City and the Nanuet Chamber jointly together, working with the town of Clarkstown through the pandemic, really helped us publicize and really did a lot of outreach with the businesses, not just chamber businesses, but businesses in general in the town. And it's no surprise that in the town of Clarkstown, we led the way out of all of Rockland County with the PPP funding. And part of that was the forums that we did, and it was your efforts, you and Alice, Lena, and folks from the chamber that really helped us as we worked with the Small Business Administration. And we held a number of forums and webinars where we tried to get businesses to apply. And you literally helped bring businesses to us, publicize it, worked with the businesses, and it's no surprise that literally hundreds of businesses in the town of Clarkstown got funding.
Yes.
And I think there's a reason why we're seeing not as many businesses that failed because of the pandemic here in the town of Clarkstown. And you and the chamber need to take some credit for that.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, Alice and I really, we call it hitting the streets with handing out forms and touching base with each of the businesses from each end of Main Street, and to see what we could do to help them along
Right.
as best as we can. And not only didn't we lose businesses, but we've grown with new businesses since pandemic and continue to grow exponentially. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's encouraging to see.
Yeah.
And again, it's tough in downtown areas, and we're doing some stuff with some rezoning, that'll be taking place over the course of the next year. That I think will help give some additional opportunities for residential over retail. We already allow that in parts of New City. We're going to be streamlining that and adding some density in certain areas and kind of cleaning the process up for that. And those will be opportunities for the people that own the buildings. But it's encouraging to see. We don't have nearly as many vacant storefronts in New City that we could have had. And certainly in some of the other downtown areas that are kind of experiencing, you go around and you see stores that are vacant all over the place. And we're not really seeing that.
No, not at all. And I think the efforts that were made during and post-pandemic really were very important and integral in seeing those non-vacancies,
Right.
in town. Outdoor dining. the Meet Me on Mains that we're looking forward to starting back up. Street fairs, or other networking events where people can actually come out and frequent the businesses,
Yeah,
in town.
completely agree. So let's talk a little bit about the chambers. So a bunch of updates. Just for folks that are watching, tell us about the New City Chamber, and what are some of the things that you guys do?
We're all about increasing, awareness and just the fact that, the small businesses in our town are the cornerstone of everything, truthfully. And we have, like I said, about 70 current members. We try to, get out our mantra, which has always been think local, shop local, dine local. We start with thinking local so that people really become aware of what's available at their fingertips in town and to start shopping and dining here. Interestingly enough, it's a fun fact, if referrals and the experience of actually dining and shopping here, as that grows, so does the revenue for the business by 72%.
Wow.
I mean, it's a huge number, right? So we definitely try to encourage people to think, shop, and dine on a local level, and also to be aware of, get familiar with our website and the things that we do. Our social media pages are constantly posting, events that we're supporting or hosting.
Right.
Most recently, I had a meeting with, via Zoom, but a meeting with the Chamber Alliance members. That includes Nanuet, Nyack, North Rockland, Suffern, Sloatsburg, Pearl River. And we're trying to collaborate also because obviously strength, we have strength in numbers. So there's a lot of exciting things that are going to start to happen.
Let's talk about some of your events, right? So you've got, you do a couple of street fairs each year.
Yes.
You do mixers, let's talk a little bit about that. I know I was just recently at a kickoff addressing economic development and what's going on in the town.
Yes.
But what are some of the things that you do?
What we want to do now is what we're looking to do is to draw people from our communities also, right? So we can combine, events that focus somewhat on economic development and other things that are logistically going on in the town and some other fun stuff. So next mixer is in April, and we're trying to get a medium to come.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so I'm not going to give away too many details.
Do you have the
but,
medium all picked out? Or?
We have somebody very much in mind.
Good.
And so I think that will draw people, and also it'll get business owners, in touch with other business owners and people in the community. So
Right.
yeah.
And so you have the monthly mixers. You're also doing the street fairs as well, right?
We're going to be doing 2 street fairs as we normally do, one on Sunday, June 11th, and the next on Sunday, October 1st.
And those are great. Those are great things. And we got thousands of people that come.
Thousands of people that come
Really
down.
great partnership with the town and with the chamber, where the chamber organizes it and bringing a lot of outside vendors. A lot of the businesses here on Main Street will take tables, and there'll be activities and music usually.
Yeah, we have 2 bands that'll be performing, Identity Crisis and First Class Dance Band.
Oh, great.
So we're excited about that. And we also have some amusement rides from Fun Time Amusements.
Oh, good.
That kind of mimic what Nanuet does as well. So there's a lot of consistency there, which is great. And we have face painting, a lot of things for the kids to do as well. And the vendors, I find, are more and more unique, and they just are excited to be a part of it because we do get a lot of foot traffic.
Oh no, absolutely. With
Yeah,
thousands
of people, yeah.
Thousands of people typically coming through. So that's Sunday the 11th of June.
June 11th.
And Sunday October 1st.
And Sunday, October 1st. And I'd be remiss, right, if I didn't say thank you to, the town and your team. It's just unbelievable the support we have from you guys.
No, I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful partnership. Our business community, our residents have really benefited from the efforts of the chambers, the New City Chamber, with the work that you guys have done. It's not only you're promoting business, but you're promoting community.
Right, that's correct.
And that's the important thing here.
Right.
So if folks want to get in touch with you through the chamber, how do they do that?
info@newcitychamber.com.
Right, info.
Or visit our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page. New City Chamber of Commerce, and they can leave messages. We always get back to people.
That's great. Well, Roxanne, I want to thank you. We're out of time, but I want to thank you for being a great guest. But more importantly, I want to thank you for your friendship. You've really been a wonderful friend.
Thank you so much, George. You too.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.
Stay tuned. We will be right back.
In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music and we talked. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic. Your honesty gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted in my own life.
And I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, in whatever you do.
Talk, they hear you.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank my guest, Mike Gianatasio from the DEFM in Clarkstown, veteran Art Smith from the American Legion, and Roxanne Perrone from the New City Chamber of Commerce. Until next time, I'm Supervisor George Hoehmtown. Thanks for joining us.